got kind of that, lake effect, kind of warm feeling at all times. I've never not had a great time at a New Orleans Super Bowl. And as much as I love covering the Super Bowl, there are certain cities you go to and the logistics are terrible or the weather's not good. If I was a visiting writer, I would not have wanted to come to Minneapolis for a Super Bowl. And these are corporate events. You're trying to please so many people. People want to walk around outside with their coat, their coat off and have a drink. I just think New Orleans. I think that would be a great thing for the league if it was in New Orleans every year.
It sounds like a great idea. Never happen.
It'll never happen. I know it'll never happen.
It'll never happen for a number of reasons. And I agree with you, first of all, that New Orleans was always my favorite Super Bowl city. And Pascal's Manale, barbecued shrimp in the Garden District, fantastic. And all the restaurants in the French Quarter.
Gumbo shop in the French Quarter. I love that place.
Fantastic. So, and I agree. You could walk to the stadium from the hotels. You can walk to the convention center. And we always had the NFL parties there, and I always thought it was the best place. But the reason it won't happen, of course, is that the NFL wants to be able to have these cities bid against each other for the best packages, so the league can make money off the deal, and also they want to be able to reward cities such as Minneapolis, when they build a new stadium, and as is the case this year in Atlanta, a new stadium. And as is the case next year, or whenever it is in L.A., it's going to be a new stadium. Mm-hmm. And you talk about bad logistics.
And they're going to have it in Vegas, I'm sure.
Yeah, exactly.
In the near future.
Yeah.
And L.A. would be the worst.
Yeah, L.A. was the worst. And the year that we went with the Vikings back in the 70s, the logistics were awful. We were staying in Costa Mesa. We were practicing, I think, at the Rams facility, which was probably about 20 minutes away. The Rose Bowl was a good 45 minutes away. The media headquarters was in
Culver City, I think.
Yeah, Culver City, which was about 45 minutes away. And so for the media people coming down to the team hotel, it was just really bad logistics. And trying to get up to LAX to pick up family took an hour, and unless you could get them to fly into John Wayne Airport.
Mm-hmm. Which is always more expensive.
Yeah, exactly. Definitely true. So, yeah, I agree with you about New Orleans. Love New Orleans as a Super Bowl site, but they are going to continue to rotate.
I know.
And I do hope they get back there soon. But weather-wise is always interesting, Super Bowl time, and again this year in Atlanta they could have some issues there in that part of the country. But hopefully it will come to pass and be okay. And we know on game day the weather will be fine and indoors at the what do they call it, Mercedes-Benz
Stadium. Yes.
Mercedes-Benz Stadium,
which is nice. I actually think U.S. Bank Stadium is a much more beautiful stadium. Mercedes-Benz Stadium is very impressive, but I do prefer U.S. Bank Stadium.
Yeah, and I think the people here at the stadium performed well last year. Great experience.
Yeah, once everybody got inside, everything was great.
Yeah, definitely true. And so, but I think it does. Super Bowl Sunday, Super Sunday always sets up as an exciting day, and I'm excited for this game in particular. I think it's going to be a good matchup. One thing we know about the Patriots being in the Super Bowl, they're usually close games.
Almost always close games.
Yeah. Now they usually win. They've won, I guess, five out of eight. 5
out of 8 in the Brady era.
Brady Belichick.
The first 3 were all by 3 points.
Right.
Another victory was in overtime.
Yeah, and I expect a similar close type game this year. I'm going to say maybe a touchdown, and I'll hold my pick, but I do think it'll be somewhat of a close game. But I think before we really analyze what are the keys to the game, I think one of the things that I feel that people need to do, and there are a lot of Patriot haters out there, and Belichick and Brady
including
haters
my wife.
out there. Yeah, because they cheated or whatever they did. But I think that truly you have to admire the longevity of this team and it is a dynasty, truly. To be in 9 Super Bowls in 18 years is incredible. 4 the last 5 years, 3 straight. That is just unbelievable. And I think that this organization, what they do, what they accomplish, and starting at the top with the Crafts and with the coaching staff, and then of course their quarterback, who is fantastic, and just I think it's just hard to go against them in a game like this, and so I start out by just saying, hey, you have to tip your hat to a fantastic team and what they've accomplished to get back. And a lot of people, when they were kind of struggling at different times this year. How many times has that happened to them every year? And then people start saying, "Oh, the end is nearing for Brady and Belichick." And no.
What's really interesting is that there are Rams players trash talking Brady. Trash talk is probably too strong a word. They're pointing out that he's an older guy, that he can't possibly maintain his level of play, that he can't possibly be as good as he's been in the past. I think that's crazy. I think Brady is a master at feeding on. He's one of the most celebrated athletes in history, and yet he always finds that perceived slight that drives him. For the Rams to be putting it on the plate this early in the week, I think, is a huge mistake.
Yeah, I would definitely say so, especially the corner who should have cost them the game last week 2 weeks ago against the Saints. Coleman and he's one of the ones leading the trash talking, and really. Maybe if Aqib Talib was saying something, or Marcus Peters, you might say it has a little more credibility, or Aaron Donald, or Ndamukong Suh, but it's just kind of crazy talk, and I think the Patriots will just feast on that type of thing as they've always done, and you give Belichick 2 weeks to get ready for a game, that's dangerous. Now I'm a big admirer of Sean McVay and what he's done in L.A. with the Rams and especially with Jared Goff, because we saw Jared Goff his rookie season.
He looked lost.
Yeah, he looked like a bus written all over him, and then now 2 years later, a lot different player, a lot different confidence level that he carries himself with, and he worked through kind of some struggles in December. Had a rough game against the Bears, we all saw on national TV. Had a rough game against the Lions too.
Yeah.
Where he had no touchdown passes and interception, and that was Matt Patricia running that defense. And I think you got to believe that Bill Belichick has been on the phone with his former defensive coordinator this week, maybe getting a couple tips to how Patricia played against Goff and the Rams passing attack and Todd Gurley. But again, Belichick can handle himself too.
Yeah.
He knows how to take players away and do whatever he has to do, and I fully expect him to really batten down the hatches on Gurley in particular.
Well, here's something interesting, Jeff. Second Super Bowl I ever covered was the Giants beating the Bills by 1 point in Tampa. And someone at USA Today
Whitney Houston's national anthem.
That's right. It was fantastic.
That was the best I ever heard.
It was very good. So somebody at USA Today, I'm sorry I don't have the author's name, but it was a really intelligent piece they did this week. And they wrote about the fact that Belichick, now, he was facing the Bills, right? Thurman Thomas, great back. James Lofton. I'm blanking on the other.
Andre Reed.
Andre Reed, thank you. And Jim Kelly, and they ran the gun, and they ran a hurry up, and it was like one of the great offenses of all time. They'd scored 55 points against the Raiders the week before, in the game before. They were just shredding everybody. Belichick presents his game plan to his Giants defense. He says, we're going to let them run the ball on us. And the players are like, that's crazy. We've never had that mentality. We've never done that. Thurman Thomas is going to tear us up. Why would you ever suggest that the right game plan for winning a Super Bowl is letting the other team run it down our throats? And he said, well, because what Buffalo wants to do is they want to throw quick passes, have their receivers run after the catch, and wear out the defense, moving down the field quickly, and just having you guys gasping, having you guys not able to adapt, and then they run Thurman when you really can't handle it, and he busts a big play. We're going to let them run the ball to a certain extent. We're going to let them have enough success running the ball that they keep running the ball. That's going to run the clock, and we're going to run the ball on offense. So if we can win the time of possession, all of a sudden this offense that dominates everybody is only going to be on the field for so much. They're going to feel pressure, and we're not going to let them have the big play because we're kind of playing extra defensive backs, which not a lot of people did back then. They were playing extra defensive backs. So Thurman's going to get the first 3 or 4 yards every time he touches the ball is going to be pretty easy, but he's not going to break the big play on us. And we're not going to let their wide receivers have any big plays, and we're going to put pressure on that offense, and we're going to make enough plays to stop them. And they did. Thurman Thomas rushed for, he had 6, 7, 8 yards a carry. He rushed for more than 100 yards. He had a touchdown. But the passing game never got rolling, and the Giants won it.
Yeah, and
I could see them doing that this week, letting Gurley have some success, but not letting the receivers beat him.
Yeah, I think they'll take a different approach. I think they'll really try to batten down the hatches against the run. I think they'll try to stop Gurley and C.J. Anderson and take their chances with Cooks. And I think one thing that is different with the Rams is when they lost Cooper Kupp, it affected their passing game, although Goff really had a good game last week. But that's a different situation. I think that the Patriots, the one thing that concerns me about them in this game is the speed in their secondary. And I think Kansas City and Patrick Mahomes and Tyreek Hill, Travis Kelce, they exploited that in the second half, and especially in the fourth quarter when they made their big comeback. And because the Patriots have older guys in that secondary. And I think that's something that the Rams will try to do with Cooks especially, and Robert Woods has some speed, and Gurley out of the backfield, whatever. But I just see Belichick really trying to control Gurley primarily, and then take it from there and try to frustrate him, as he was kind of frustrated by New Orleans in the NFC Championship game. He only had 10 yards, and now he was banged up, we know, and I think 2 weeks later he should probably be okay. But I think that's part of the chess match that is really interesting in this game, is how do they approach it? How do the Rams approach it? Are they going to try to maybe come out throwing and try to soften up that Patriots against the run later? And so there are just so many subplots in this game. It's really interesting. To me, I think the big factor is going to be how the Patriots hold up offensive line-wise, which they've been fantastic in the playoffs. Brady has zero sacks. And they'll be tested by Aaron Donald and Ndamukong Suh for sure, and Fowler on the outside. The Rams can rush the passer. And if the Patriots can hold them out, and we know Brady gets rid of the ball quick, 2.1 seconds or whatever, if they can hold them out, I think the Patriots will have a lot of success in their short passing game, throwing to James White, throwing to Edelman. Gronk had kind of a reemergence in the championship game, and the Patriots can run the ball too.
Yeah,
and the Rams were susceptible to the run this year.
Yep.
5.1 yards a carry. So I think, to me, it's going to be Jared Goff is going to have a sensational game for the Rams to win this game, or Donald and Suh are going to have to be so dominant inside that Brady has no time to throw, that he can't step up. And it's not really his style to want to step outside.
Right.
And so if Donald and Suh can have that kind of success, but hasn't happened against that Patriots offensive line. And I think it's really interesting too, Jim, when you examine their offensive line, and I was kind of taking a look at this from the standpoint of who are these guys, and where they came from and all that, and just the success they've had. And there's no first or second round pick among that Patriots offensive line. Now they've got a third rounder in Joe Thuney inside. They've got a fourth rounder, Shaq Mason, a former seventh rounder, and Trent Brown playing great outside at left tackle. Marcus Cannon was a fifth rounder, and David Andrews undrafted. Now, having said that, I'm not advocating for the Vikings to follow that formula, because I think the Vikings need to draft first and second round offensive linemen and really bulk up. Because here's the difference. The Patriots have Dante Scarnecchia, who's one of the great offensive line coaches in history, and they've got Brady, who gets rid of the ball in 2.1 seconds or whatever. And Gronk is also another guy they've got on that offensive in that group that is a great run blocker, and he can pass protect when he needs to. And so I'm not going to say the Vikings should say, hey, the Patriots don't have a first or second rounder, so we don't have to draft a first or second rounder. Yeah. No, you need to draft a first or second rounder, probably both. And we'll have plenty of time to talk about that in the coming weeks.
Right.
But that Patriot offensive line is really an interesting group. And the Rams are no slouch on their offensive line either. And Whitworth and company have done a great job protecting Goff, opening holes for Gurley and Anderson. But the Patriots also have some good pass rushers too. And the one thing you know is that Belichick's going to come up with some blitzes, some exotic stuff, especially in third and long. Any fourth down situations, he's always blitzing and sending guys like Hightower. And so I think it sets up as really an interesting chess match type of game. You got the old guard of Belichick against the new wave of McVay. You got the old school Brady against the new guy in Goff, and so very interesting matchup in a lot of ways. And I'm excited for Sunday.
what was the industry opinion